and welcome to the CSR Journal. Today we have Mr. Jitendra Kalra, Chief Operating Officer of Reliance Foundation with us. Reliance Foundation is the CSR arm of Reliance Industries Limited. RIL is one of the most easily recalled names in the Indian business industry. It has also been the highest CSR spender in the first year of CSR mandate. Today we'll speak to Mr. Kalra and know more about CSR projects and agenda at Reliance Foundation. Welcome to the chat, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, like Reliance Industries, Reliance Foundation is also involved in various social sectors, like right from livelihood to agriculture to health, education. We would like to know, if I have to ask you to paint India of your dreams from the perspective of Reliance Foundation, how would it be like?
Yeah, that's a very exciting question. Exciting because that's how, in a way, we designed our program. So at Reliance Foundation and at Reliance Industries, we conceive of an India which is inclusive. And by inclusive, we mean all segments of the society, rural, urban, each component of our country participates in the growth that lies ahead. And 5 years back, when we were at the drawing table designing our program, all of us were realizing that to a large extent rural India has been left behind. So while urban India, call it, look at skilling, look at investments, look at the projects which come, urban India is galloping at a pace.
Correct.
And rural India, we found, was lagging behind more and more year by year. And that has been therefore one of the guiding philosophies for us at the foundation in program planning, in resource allocation, that whichever segments of the society we believe are left behind, are not inclusive enough, how is it that we reach out to them? How is it that we do something about it, create models around it, engage in a dialogue which is much wider, and see that as many stakeholders as we can bring to that space, we do that. So I think for us, the big vision that drives us is inclusive India, all segments of the society being benefited by the growth that India goes through, and each one has an access to equal opportunity.
So it's bridging the gap.
Absolutely. In fact, the program, one of the major programs that we run, we called it as Bharat India Jodo. So Bharat, the rural part, how do we connect it to India, the urban part?
Correct. Talking about you, you have a background of working as a civil servant. How does the journey from civil service come to corporate India?
Yeah, so I was part of the civil services for more than 10 years, and then I had an opportunity to work with the United Nations.
Right.
I was in India, largely based in India. I was working with some projects with government of Karnataka first, then government of AP, government of Odisha, and that was an opportunity to actually peep deeper into rural societies, look at, from an outside perspective, look at what is government capable of doing, what is government not capable of doing, and getting also some sense of what probably the private sector could bring in the whole game.
Okay.
I think those 7 years that I had with the United Nations, I thought this would also be a good opportunity to be outside government, and then bring to this space what all probably government lacks or is not so strong at, so that we together, government and non-government players, can bring a change.
Do you think it is better to implement changes being in government or being at the corporate side?
I wouldn't say better or worse. I think each part, each side has to play their role. I chose to play the role on the other side. I said, okay, there is a good amount of time I spent with the government. I want to now play the other role. But I think each one of them is, today as I see it, very complementary. And what private sector can bring to the space is huge. What government brings to the space, nobody can bring. So I think both the sides have to work together for sure.
Do you think it is possible to bring about a change without the involvement of government?
No, I think we are very clear at the Reliance Foundation that, see, unless we are just engaged in creating pockets of excellence here and there, we can choose to not work with the government. But if we are interested in bigger change, a more inclusive change, I think both the sides have to partner with each other. Government has to partner with us, we have to partner with the government, and we can't stand in isolation. Otherwise, as I said earlier, we'll just create some pockets of excellence here, there. It wouldn't really be worthwhile.
If I have to ask you one story that moved you towards the social sector, what would it be like?
Yeah, so I recall long back, this was in Pune town. From UNIDO side, the organization that I was in, there was a skilling program we had conducted for the youth of villages around the city. And I recall this was a valediction program kind of a thing. Parents had been invited. So I just recall one of the mothers walking up to the stage and just saying these words, you know, she was thanking us, the organizers, people who had arranged the training. She was saying, "Aapne mujhe mera bachcha lauta diya."
Okay.
So story was like this boy had sort of gone wild, and you know, he wouldn't come home before midnight, and he was into all kind of you know, activities which he shouldn't have been into. And this 3-month training that we did was in a way drew him back to family, drew him back to society, and he got engaged in productive activities. And I think that statement and that picture continues to stay with me. And I thought this was all about, you know, the boy didn't have really an opportunity and access to what he could have become in life, and we became that small facilitator in the process. And I thought if small things like this could cause so much of joy to a mother, to a family, I'm sure there's so much that we can do. I think that's one of the stories that I recall, remember, and quite often get motivated by.
Okay.
You know, as sort of we get stuck here and there at times. And
now you have been having like a variety of projects, but I would like to know how closely do you work with technology to bring about that inclusive India dream that you have?
At Reliance Foundation, we very strongly believe that technology can be a great enabler. Now, to just share with you, we have an exclusive program. We call it Reliance Foundation Information Services, RFIS program, that leverages technology to bridge the last mile connectivity in the extension services.
Okay.
Now, just to give an example, we work today in more than 12,000 villages, reaching out to people. And how we reach out to people is we pick up information from institutions, quite often governmental institutions, information which is very critical to poor people. It could be information related to their livelihoods, to their safety issues, to issues of crop productivity, to issues of for example, for the fisher folk, where fish shoal is available, what will be the tidal height, etc., etc. So we pick up this information from the institutions, and we use technology to ensure that the information reaches the poor. Quite often into the mobiles, we put it as a voice advisory. Into their local channels, we put it as some of the programs. We organize interactive programs between beneficiaries on one side and, let's say, the scientists on the other from the agricultural universities.
Q&A can go on?
Yes.
Okay. Reliance Industries Limited has been the highest spender in terms of CSR funds in the first year of of the implementation of the mandate. What percentage has been used via Reliance Foundation?
Yes, we've been the biggest spender in the year, and I think largely the money has flown through the foundation. If I
Okay.
were to give you a broad figure, I think close to about 95% of the money
Okay.
that we have spent in the year has gone through the foundation.
Okay. The foundation has been working in rural areas essentially. I'd like to know what is the initial response when it comes to when you go for the first time to a village and say, I want to say develop something, or maybe I want to help you with your farming. Are they hostile? Are they friendly? What is the experience?
Yeah, I think initially it has been a challenge for us as we walked into the villages. This was also something of a novel idea to the people, that a corporate by the name Reliance comes and says, we want to,
Help your
let's
farmer.
talk development, let's talk issues of the village.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of skepticism, there was a lot of people said, oh, probably they've come for some other ulterior motives,
Exactly.
so they were, of course. But for us, what is central to our implementation is that our teams reside in those villages, they operate there as people of the place, and sooner than later we are able to win trust of the people by walking our talk.
Individually or in groups or in terms of organizations, there are many players who are trying to bring about change in this country. There are many issues as well. There's one government who's trying to put in funds and efforts and trying to bring change, and so has been these private players.
Sure.
What do you think can we do to streamline the needs, efforts, funds towards a common goal, and what do you think we need more at that end?
Yeah, so I think you picked up a very relevant issue. First of all, working in silos, as we say in business also, is not the way.
Correct.
And we'll all be putting our resources to suboptimal use if we were to take an approach of each one going their own way and working in silos and not looking at what others are doing. I think in this space, at least there's no competition, there's no IPR. It's all about how can we quickly learn from each other, how can we share more, and how can we engage with the government in a productive manner, so that whatever be the learnings that we have can be transferred to the government, and of course we can learn from the government systems and their ways of working, and how together we can make a difference.
Correct.
So I think there are corporates who are aligned to this philosophy. I see more and more corporates getting aligned to this. There is a dialogue which is on with the government, and I see this dialogue maturing in coming months and years. So I see a lot of hope in this space, where I think we'll all come together to collaborate, to learn, to put systems so that each one of us is able to move the needle forward.
Reliance has been doing CSR activities since a long time, even before the mandate came in place. So we would like to know, what is the difference that mandate brought in terms of budget and CSR reporting to Reliance Foundation?
So budget allocations more have been driven by what is the need out there
Okay.
than by any percentage.
Okay.
So right from the first year of our operation, which was much earlier than the act came into force, whatever the need was, the budget was provided to the foundation. So budgets actually have not changed.
Okay.
Only, of course, year by year they've been getting stronger, act or no act. But I think one good thing which the act surely has brought in is the engagement of the board members in a formal setting. So for example, now issues of the country, so to say, what is ailing the rural economy and what is working there, what is not working there, is something which board members engage with every quarter.
Right.
So the act provides for a board CSR committee, and there are presentations to be made, and there are discussions, there are suggestions. I think this is something very phenomenal,
Now, do you think we need stricter rules to ensure that the mandate is followed? Like, do you think penalization is the way ahead?
No, not at all. We at Reliance and Reliance Foundation believe that penalties or more stricter norms wouldn't really work. I think it is essentially the commitment of the management, commitment of the board, and if they can run businesses, they can run their own social welfare programs as well, and they are doing quite well. So I think the present policy of declaration is good enough, and any more making it any more stricter would actually have its own negative consequences than in any way contributing to this space.
What is CSR to you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. What is CSR to, I would respond it, what is CSR to us at Reliance? At Reliance, CSR to us is in many layers. It's about the way we do business, communities around us, how we take care of them, and the society at large. How can we contribute back to society? So in these three different layers, I think we are passionate to make a difference, and we believe every corporate should take responsibility for all the three spaces.
Okay. It was really great talking to you, sir. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.